Hello Zambia and welcome to your show, The Manifesto Show, where we look at political as well as governance issues. And today on the show I am joined by Mr. Brian Segalungwe, who is actually the chairperson for Alliance for 24 Political Party. Welcome to the program.
Greetings to the viewers.
Thank you. It's wonderful to have you. And to begin with, let's just get down to business. Tell us a bit about yourself, of course. I think we'll start on that note.
Professionally, I'm an insurer, or shall I say I was an insurer. I spent most of my life in the insurance business. I've started a number of companies. I started an assessment company, a broking company. Unfortunately, my life was in politics, so I did a bit of business and that interacted with politics, and somewhere along the way, my businesses couldn't continue because of politics. So I said, fine, let me just do politics full time.
Now, it's interesting because I'm looking at you. You are a man of faith.
Very much so.
But something that's just caught my, I don't know about the viewers, but something just caught my attention. You're wearing a white glove there with you.
Yeah.
Can you tell us something about that?
Right. When you look at the glove, the first thing I want the viewers to understand is, how do you identify a cadre? He'll be wearing a beret and dark glasses. Then I ask you, how do you identify a righteous voter, a believer in politics, a voter that is upright? He has no identity. So we need to create an identity. This reminds you that this is an upright politician, a righteous politician, trying to do the right thing in the nation and for the nation. But I could take you to Revelations also, which says, in Sardis, meaning in Zambia, there are few righteous people, people who are unstained and who are trustworthy. We've reached a stage in Zambia's politics where the Zambians are saying politicians are thieves, liars, and deceivers. So we have to find those few politicians that are not liars and deceivers, because for you to have a righteous government, you must have a righteous voter. And a righteous voter must vote for a righteous politician. Then, when you have a righteous government, the people will rejoice.
Well, somebody would argue with that statement, say that all politicals, they are liars. Because, for example, yourself, you are a politician.
Yes.
And in the case where you say politicians are liars and thieves,
yes,
then what is that? What are you telling? What are you saying about yourself in terms, because you are a politician?
Well, the beauty is that I'm a new politician on the scene, bringing in a new perspective to politics. The old politics is what the people of Zambia are rejecting. There are people like me and other political party leaders, small political party leaders, that have refused to be slanderers, to be liars. We have been ignored. But now that the people have rejected the type of politics that has been existing since 1964, that rejection means they are looking for a new Zambia and new politics in 2021.
Wonderful. Okay, so now Alliance for 24 Political Party.
Yes.
Are we talking about 24 political party in one cycle?
A little bit of history there is that, first of all, I'm president of the United Front for a Strong Foundation, a political party that was formed 4 years ago. 4 years ago, we formed a party, and obviously our intention was to attract voters to our party. And we wrote all sorts of manifesto ideas and what. When we had finished and tried to sell our ideas, the media was only reporting slander and deceit and lies. So we had no space. So we thought, no, perhaps let's get together our fellow small political parties of politicians who've been shouting in the wilderness and nobody listens. It may be if we get together in large numbers, they'll be able to say, oh, now we'll listen to them. So we started going door to door to our friends and speaking. We shared the ideas and we came to a common understanding that yes, if we get together as small political parties and are able to work together, the people will begin to say there's something happening there. because staying together is an achievement, working together is a challenge, but winning together is the ultimate. And so we think we're going to win in 2021.
Okay, just on that,
Together.
just on that note,
Yeah.
because I'm looking at when you go into power, of course,
Yes.
there is an aspect of 24 parties. And how is the structure, your government structure, how is it going to be? Because I'm looking at people who have got a political party coming together with you, working with you.
Yeah.
And then the point when you form government, how are you going to restructure and give responsibility in a more conducive way that it can appreciate and accept?
What happens is we first have come together with 24 different manifestos. So we set aside our differences and find our commonality. Where we've reached now, we are going to agree on one vehicle to go into the election. One of our political parties is a vehicle we are all going to go into. And when we get into that vehicle, we are then going to share responsibilities to be able to fight and win an election. So the vehicle for winning the next election is yet to be decided. We are all going into one political vehicle, and then we're going to go and fight an election. The structure of a political party, in terms of being able to get to the people, is a standard format. You have your chairman, mobilization, president of the party, we will vote. So in our Alliance of 24, all our manifestos have been suspended. We have one common manifesto and agenda, which is a simple one. That's what's keeping us together. We are not arguing on the differences, we are arguing on the similarities. One other thing we brought into the political arena is that the president of our vehicle into an election is not our presidential candidate. Our presidential candidate will be picked democratically, meaning any one of our 24 political parties can nominate a person. So if we end up with 3 or 4 candidates, we'll take them to the public to debate so that we see who has a vision for this country and the voters agree with us that this is the person that will carry us. So as president of the United Front, I'm not the presidential candidate of the Alliance of 24. I'm just one of the candidates. There are other brothers and sisters who also have a vision for the country, who will sit in front of you, with you, the media, interviewing us. And then you will be able to guide us that the best candidate amongst your people is this one.
Yes. Now, the 1 million trajectory that you speak highly about, of people that are not willing to vote for this big part like PF, which is the government, and the opposition, which is the UPND, because of trust issue, tribal issues, as well as violence. But if you look at the electoral process, which we just underwent, the registration of voters and whatnot, there was a target of 9 million, and ECZ did not actually achieve that goal. So there was a dividend there. Now, my question would be now, the 1 million is coming up from the actual registered voters, the one that we have.
Yeah.
That's where the 1 million is coming from.
No. Elections are historical. As we go into these elections, when you plan mostly on the historical data. And if you go to the 2016 elections, PF had about 1.9 plus, UPND 1.8 voters. Now, if you fast forward to today, you will discover that PF in the urban areas has lost close to 70% of its support in the urban areas. If you take 70% of the urban vote, you will find that it goes to about 1.5 thereabouts. Even if you take 20% and give them to UPND, there's still more than 1 million voters who do not want to vote for PF or UPND for moral reasons. And essentially that they have rejected the current brand of politics. These people have reached a point where they say, a significant number of them will say, we are going to stop voting. It's pointless. So something has to come up, some hope has to come up. And if you go spiritually into history, God always produced a shoot that will come with a different message. It's up to the upright voters, the righteous voters, to open their eyes, get out of their blindness, and begin to see that it's not the noisiest politicians you should follow, but it's the logical politicians.
Okay, on that note, we're going to take another break and we'll be right back on your Manifesto Show.
Hello, my name is Nevas Mumba, President of the New Hope Movement for Multi-Party Democracy. You are watching the Manifest on Live TV.
Welcome back to the show. If you have just tuned in, make sure you follow us on Facebook, Live TV, as well as Instagram. That's at Live TV. And you can also catch us on Topstar Channel 112. Today on the conversation, I am actually chatting with the chairperson for Alliance of 24 Political Party, actually under the United Front for a Strong Foundation Party, Mr. Brian. And we were just looking at some of the key elements, a bit of a bio about their movement, their party, and whatnot. Now, Zambian people are very curious. They want solution. And it's very important to keep pace with the prevailing condition. We have seen what has happened. And it is seen that this coming general election will be economically focused. What is the United Front in conjunction with Alliance of 24 Political Party bringing on the table?
Yes, as I said, as an alliance, we've suspended all our manifestos. They are null and void. Manifestos are supposed to help you get into government, as you said it to the people, true? In this instance, this election is about a rejection of a political system. That rejection of the political system as we stand today goes back 56 years. So when you go back 56 years and you look at the economic, social, and cultural structure of Zambia, we've gone backwards. In every sphere, economy, politics, culture, even religion, we've gone backwards. But if our religion was practical and objective, our moral standards, both in politics and society, would be very high. But unfortunately, everything has collapsed. So we are rebuilding the foundation of the country. So when you say manifesto, you are saying, how are we going to do that? So when you look at the foundation of the country, you are looking at three aspects: law and order, cultural values, and religious principles. None of those are talking about economics. So I will come back to the manifesto of the United Front, but I think, or maybe you want me to start with the manifesto which we have set aside, not thrown away. I'll touch a few structural issues in how Zambia has been governed. Structural issues. If you discuss economics and form economic forums to discuss the economy, you're simply wasting your time until you correct the politics. Because the politics are the ones that are destroying the country. The economy and all the ingredients of economic development, God gave us. But the politics has destroyed the economics. So set aside the economics, deal with the politics. So, but I will deal with the economics because that's manifesto issues. What is wrong with the structure of Zambian governance systems? Essentially, the governance system has failed to liberate the mind of the Zambian because it's not the government that creates wealth, it's the people. In this instance, the visions of creating wealth is sort of dependent on the government. So if you look at the structure, I would look at home affairs, the policing system, corruption in the police, and all that. It's something to do with structure. For instance, the policemen, first of all, are they normal civil servants? Policemen are civil servants. They are not normal civil servants. Policemen are kept in police camps. Now, those police camps were created by colonialists because they wanted to take Africans out of the locations and compounds and make them a special breed to intimidate the people, to keep the people under checks and balances. So they created police camps. The policeman, anywhere else in the advanced world, is like every other civil servants. They report for work and go and live in the community. So the police camps is one of the things, as United Front, we have said all the police camps will be dismantled. The houses and the land that the police has will be sold to the policemen. Future generation will be paid enough to house themselves. In the same way, every other civil servant in government houses himself. There will be no police camp because that's where the corruption begins. The bad culture of the police begins in the police camps.
Speaking about the police, which is now a trending story,
Yes.
because as we witnessed a very tragic incident where there were innocent lives which were lost because of politics.
Yes.
Now, as Alliance or 24 political party, how do you? I know you have talked about because of these two political parties which have caused confusion, as you have stated.
Yes.
But what should we now tell? What are you going to tell the Zambian people moving forward in terms of how they can reflect? Is it because maybe they are hiring cadres as police officers? That's the reason why we are seeing a lot of violence. Is it because of corruption? That's the reason why we are seeing police not being professional. What is your take as Alliance with 24 political parties?
We first have to say that the police are innocent in this whole game. You may find it strange. They are totally innocent because they are subject to the will of the culture you have in politics. The behavior of the two ruling party and the biggest opposition leaves a lot to be required. And to any normal thinking Zambian, culturally oriented and religious founded, this is what the politics, the people are rejecting. Now, Zambians have spent 56 years trying to change the politicians. Okay? An unrighteous politician is just that. You can't change him. You have to find the righteous politician that you have to put in government. So the divide here is between darkness and light. This incident would never have happened if, first of all, the ruling party had not sent the wrong messages before the thing happened. In fact, let me say, both of them had not sent. One was saying we are going to fight, the other one was warning the other. Both of them have something to play in that particular incident. If one of them was peaceful enough, that would never have happened. Because a lot of euphoria was created around that particular incident. And this is what in Zambia today we call politics. That is not good politics, that's bad politics on both sides. And this is what we have to move away from. Start a new brand of politics that will focus on developing the nation, not seeking cheap political advantage or entertainment.
So what you're proposing you in terms of ending all these vices is to stop putting or casting the vote on these two political parties.
No, it isn't. It's a democracy.
I'm aware it's a democracy, but I'm just looking at the fact that you are saying that the biggest perpetrators of violence and mistrust and mismanagement, let's say even when you take it to corruption, the biggest political party we are not going to mention them, but
Yeah.
the Zambian people will be able to identify them.
No, I will mention
You would, but
Yeah.
for the sake of just embracing democracy,
Yes.
you are saying the Zambian people should divorce such political party and embrace the ones that promote better the alternative that you're offering.
I think that is exactly what we are saying. That the Zambia's problem is a moral problem, it's not economic. The type of politics being perpetrated, whether today, tomorrow, or 10 years from now, will take this country nowhere. Whether it's being practiced by PF, UPND, or any other opposition, it will not. It requires a complete change of perspective if we are going to change what we are experiencing now. Complete change of perspective. That political leaders would have to take a step back. That structures such as sole candidate, okay? I'm just now taking you to the root of the problem. Both parties have sole candidates. Sole candidate is a tyrant, a person who says nobody should challenge me. When you have a sole candidate, you will have violence because structures will be created to protect and ensure the sole candidate, the tyrant, continues.
Okay.
Now
so
that's something you see for yourselves. So you can't vote. If you are a Democrat, you cannot vote for a party that has got a sole candidate and a tyrant.
When we get back, we'll look at issues to do with ending tribalism that you have also looked at, as also issues to do with freedom of association, issues to do with movement, as well as equality and observing the law or the rule of law, which is also a concern in this country. Also, maybe the POA, which is the Public Order Act, which is also a major concern in your field, of course.
Yes.
We'll be right back.
Okay.
Welcome back to the Manifesto Show. You are actually having a conversation with me, Danji Duncan Simwanza, and I'm joined by Mr. Brian, who is the chairperson for Alliance 34 for a political party. Now, we were having serious conversation on key aspects, but to begin our conversation after the break, I'm just maybe going to draw a bit on the issue of the media fraternity, of course. I think we have seen media being intimidated, and we know the media is also the fourth estate when it comes to promoting democracy, of course. But when we have a situation where they're intimidated, how do we offer checks and balances then? Your view on the issue of your submission on this issue?
Liberation of the media, Danji, is so simple. It's right in your faces. How, in a democracy, can you have a minister to manage information? How can you, in a democracy, have a minister of propaganda and it's official? What is the duty of a minister of propaganda and misinformation? Is to misinform the people. 56 years later, every government still wants to appoint a minister. Simple solution: scrap the Ministry of Information and its powers to control the media, and you are free.
Now, most of other political players that I've hosted on this show, of course, they've had a concern when it comes to the POA, the Public Order Act. I don't know about you as Alliance for 24 political party, whether you have concern with this act, and whether you, when you come into government, whether you're looking at the fact that you need to amend it and maybe put in a more resilient law that can actually promote good resilience to other political players as they promote democracy in the country. What's your view on that one?
First and foremost, we are going to do the final constitutional review with as little as 7 people only. There is enough documentation. The entire constitution needs a review and a final one. The final one can only be done with a government that is of integrity and trusted by the people, that will carry the people together up to the point of signing by the president. Public Order Act is a transmission of evil from colonial days. UNIP, the famous UNIP, failed to correct the Public Order Act because of selfishness and self-interest. MMD failed because the Zambians voted in, again, a team of unrighteous politicians. It became a circus of evil. PF came in, enhanced the manipulation and suppression of citizens' rights. So, 2021 asks the question to the Zambians, not to me as a political player, to the Zambians. In 2021, you must put politicians in office with clear objectives of what you are going to achieve in those 5 years. What are you going to get rid of that you've been importing from colonial days? You've imported Public Order Act. You've imported roadblocks, intimidation of people by police. You've imported tribalism. It was racialism transmitted to tribalism. You've imported, so there are 13 things which the voters themselves must now, as a movement of voters, to select new leaders. There are 13 objectives that the people must now say, whoever goes into government must do the following thing without fail. Number 1, start the constitutional review. Number 2, we do not want the political party in power to use state resources to run the party. Separate the party from the government. The president of the party and the president of the nation must be 2 separate people. Currently, every expense for the ruling party president is paid by the state. 60% of the expenses for cabinet is also, for cabinet and their NEC members, is paid by the state, because the same people are in the ruling party executive, are the same people in cabinet. These are the objectives that the people of Zambia themselves must aim to achieve. And to end tribalism, there must be a separation of votes between the rural areas and the urban areas. One would expect a country 56 years later with intellectuals, learned people, doctors, rich people in Osaka, voting like a fisherman. I have no problem with a fisherman voting on a regional board, but I have a problem with a professor voting like a fisherman. The fisherman is misinformed. The people in Lusaka, Copper Belt, who are enlightened, urban areas, must be the change factor for Zambia. They must not go into political parties where simple Zambian citizens have been misinformed. The 2 biggest parties have regional strongholds in the rural areas. The urban areas must find a new vehicle to change Zambia.
Mr. Brian, before I end my questions on human rights and freedom of association and whatnot, there's another aspect that I want you maybe to put in submission. You know, organs of the government, like especially key organs of the government, which are in charge of fighting corruption, like ACC, for example. You look at institutions like the Financial Intelligence Center, making sure that they fight corruption, and just the Supreme Court, the judiciary itself. And you look at the power that the president has over we talk just separation of power, of course. My concern would be, do we need a different system of selecting director of SEC, for example, not being appointed by the president? Would that limit the level of intimidation or maybe fear that usually people? And I'm getting this from people's reaction when we had this conversation on this issue. They were saying directors at SEC, for example, they're intimidated by people on the top, so they can't work properly. What are you proposing once in government in this area?
Power structures, world over and historically, put power in a president. It may be excessive here and there, but the problem is in the selection of the leader, number one, and institutional framework, and also culture of the people. Some people, like judges, are protected, but they still fear the president. Someone has to appoint people to certain positions. That's a privilege of power. When you consistently make mistake in selecting your leaders, you over-legislate. Ndanji, you over-legislate. Now everything you see, you want to create laws. Everything you're running around create, but your culture is not changing. We have to change the culture of the Zambian person so that if he's given a public office, he will fight in that public against any politician that wants to interfere. That is not our biggest problems. It's part of it, but you don't want to over-legislate. A lot of people are saying the president appoints commissioners, this is it. Yes, but then these people have contracts and so on. So president can't also keep changing. I do agree. There are some things we need to change, but I also want to give a word of caution that don't put rules for everything. You over-legislate. Start changing your culture in your people. Ministers don't resign because you've already voted in people with no principles. Ministers get money illegally, and none of them resigned at that particular time.
Okay.
And they want to blame the president.
Yes. Okay. On that note, as we wind up, of course, your last remarks, and I want when you do your last remarks, maybe you can touch a bit about freedom of association. I think many Zambians say they are not free to exercise their rights in terms of association movement, and also just sharing their grievances. Maybe, for example, doing demonstration, not demonstration per se, peaceful demonstration by showing that they need something to change in that particular area, but they feel like they don't have that platform. As we wind up, what's your
That's
last
fear.
remarks?
That is first of all fear. Danji, my faith is not a secret. I'm Catholic. My vote is not a secret. I am not voting for PF. I'm not voting for UPND. I am going to vote for democratically picked candidates in the alliance of 24 together with the million plus voters that don't want to follow parties that practice colonial politics. Okay? So, Public Order Act doesn't require much debate. Just put the right people in government, it will disappear immediately. There is no consideration, there is no discussion. We have wasted too much energy discussing the fact that we've put wrong leaders. From 1964, we have put wrong leaders. Because you want to say Zambians are right. If you are right, there would be no Public Order Act. There would be no media intimidation. So the leaders we've had since 1964 are wrong. They did not do the right thing. We need leaders who will get in there and immediately do the things that we've wasted our time discussing on, including the final review of the Constitution.
Thank you very much for coming through. During the COVID area, thank you very much for coming through. I have had a wonderful conversation with you.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. Well, until next time, it's your Manifesto Show. Bye-bye for now.